Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Just continuing on with this sort of Satan's little season crack, to be honest. Terra de Iesso, the land of Jesus, mentioned it in probably all of the other three videos, to be honest. Yeah, there's maps in this 15, 16, 17, 1800s with Terra de Iesso, the land of Jesus. Land mass kind of between Russia and America on the maps. So I mentioned it before, so I just thought I'd kind of give this a play. This isn't. There's a few videos on this, to be honest. We've got one here, the land of Jesus, with leaving Babylon. This woman here has done extensive research into this sort of subject. So there is a few videos on the land of Jesus here, Terra de Iesso. So, yeah, this is the crack. Here is Jesus, the King of Kings, and yeah, let's hear a bit of this.
And from where this worldwide kingdom was ruled. As I have already said in other videos, I suspect, like others, that Mount Zion and this kingdom were located at the North Pole, and that we today live in Satan's little season, after the Millennium Kingdom. But there is another mysterious landmass that could have belonged to this camp of saints, or still does, Terra de Iesso, or the land of Jesus. This piece of land can be seen on some old maps and is located at the height of the Bering Strait, exactly between the easternmost point of Asia, the Chukchi Peninsula, and the westernmost point of Alaska, the Seward Peninsula. Let's have a look at some maps. This is Louis Hennepin's map of America from 1698. At the top left we see, between Asia and Tartaria and the Americas, recognizable by California, a land mass called Terra de Iesso, meaning land of Jesus. In front of it is the Sea of Jesus. Right here, in the Bering Strait between Asia and America, there is no such land mass on modern maps. This land of Jesus stretches as far north as the land mass of the North Pole. None of this can be seen on today's maps. This, for example, is Peter van der Ey's planosphere map from the end of the 17th century. Here the land of Iesso stretches across the North Pole. To the west is the Strait of Anian and California as an island. On the east...
So yeah, I've mentioned this before. California is an island. Again, this sort of the 15, the 16, the 1700s maps with this island, Terra de Iesso, the land of Jesus. So yeah, again, this well, I'll play the rest of the video, to be honest. It's very interesting. I'll go into as well, if I can find it. I don't know if it's in this video, or maybe in the one down there, about the time zones and how the time zones don't work really in this area. Like they've deleted time from the time zone, deleting this area of the map in a way. So we'll get to that. But yeah, so Terra de Iesso, the land of Jesus, on maps, as you can see. So I will continue on. Hold on.
Eastern side is the Strait of Vries, named after the Dutch explorer Martin Gerritsen Vries, who is said to have discovered it. There is also a small island called Roy de Jor, but I couldn't find anything about it. Here are a few more maps I found showing Terra de Iesso in the northwestern Pacific Ocean between Alaska and Russia. This map is fascinating. It shows an area called Levuria next to the Strait of Anian, and a city marked as Pagul, which according to Wikipedia is a non-existent phantom city. Madeline and Jason highlighted this 1609 map by Georgicus Hondius and pointed out that it was strange to see an image of Jesus' crucifixion near the Anian Strait. However, the translation of the Latin text below it provides clarity. Thus, the Japanese crucify criminals. The cross consists of 4 pieces of wood. They do not use nails, but they usually bind the hands and feet with ropes. Then, with the cross erected, the executioner drives a spear into the right side of the crucified person. In this way, they put to death several Christians for their faith. This alludes to the martyrdom of many Christians in Japan at the beginning of the 17th century. But then I found this map, and here the crucifixion was placed exactly on the opening of the Anian Strait. I can't help but suspect hidden symbolism on the part of the mapmaker. Could this be the way to Jesus' land? This is another mind-blowing map. Here, in the area of Terra de Iesso, it says in Italian, discovered by the Dutch in 1645. But the year is written with the letter I, which, as other researchers have already pointed out, stands for the year 645 in Jesus' Millennium Kingdom. Below that it says, coasts not yet known. Here, Terra de Iesso is referred to as the land of the company. This presumably refers to the Dutch East India Company. Here, I also see the inscription Citadelle de la Croix, meaning Citadel of the Cross, for the second time. Citadel is just another word for star forts. In this map by Pierre Duval from 1670, Terra de Iesso can be seen again next to the island of California. The French inscription reads, "The land of Gesso extends as far as Asia, from which it is separated by large inlets known as Pico and Reese." On some maps, this piece of land is also referred to as de Gama or Gama's land. This is in reference to the Portuguese explorer João de Gama, the grandson of the equally famous Vasco da Gama. Between 1588 and 1590, he sailed across the Pacific Ocean. He started in Macau, made a stopover in Japan, and then sailed towards Mexico, but moved beyond the 45th parallel north. On this route, he stopped at Ezo and saw a land beyond it. The mythical Gama land then appeared on many maps and was believed to have existed between Kamchatka and the American continent. It appeared on maps for 150 years.
Once a year I do a program that's for free.
The coast discovered by Gama also appeared on maps under the names Terra Eco or Terra Isonis.
So, sorry to interrupt, but as you can see, quite a lot of maps with Terra de Iesso, the land of Jesus, on, up from Japan, over from America, in between Alaska. So, quite a lot of maps. I'll keep playing the video. Hopefully, you might get to the time zones. If not, I'll look. The time zone. Is this the time zone thing here? This could be the time zone thing. We'll keep playing. We'll get to it. If not, I'll go to the other videos which mention the time zone situation here. Play.
The discovery of this Gama land was also the motivation behind the Russian Great Northern Expedition of Vitus Bering. We'll come back to that later. Today, historians dismiss the land of Iesso as speculation on the part of cartographers of the time, arguing that the northwestern Pacific took the longest to reach from Europe, and therefore remained a mystery for the longest time. They also argue that the land of Iesso is nothing more than a misinterpretation of Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost island. And there are some maps, such as these ones, which support this theory, but all the maps shown previously clearly depict the land of Iesso as a big landmass stretching between Asia and America towards the North Pole. Okay, let's get the translation out of the way. When you research this topic, you are immediately dismissed with the explanation that Iesso stands for Ezo, an old name for Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost island, even though this contradicts some of the maps of that time. But Iesso not only sounds similar to the Latin and Greek words for Jesus, but Iesso is a rare poetic Latin variant of Iesu. Madeline also pointed out that some online Latin translators still translated Terra de Iesso as Land of Jesus in April, but later, after her video, suddenly displayed a different translation. How do you explain that, then? This is a map by Johannes Kepler from 1630. Here, too, the landmass in the northwestern Pacific Ocean next to California Island can be seen. It contains several markings, including Laguna del Apostoles, the Lagoon of the Apostles, and B.S. Mateus, Bahia San Mateus, the Bay of St. Matthew. On the other side, the Strait of Anian and other markings can be seen. Among them are places such as B.S. Miguel or Bahia de San Miguel, which means Bay of St. Michael, or B de los Santos, Bay of the Saints. To make this map even more interesting, the original was stolen from the University of Innsbruck in 2017. Is this a smoking gun for the little season theory? I took another look at some old world maps, and this map from 1587 by Urbano Monti should be familiar to anyone who has studied our cosmology. But what I saw here with new eyes made my jaw drop. Some fantastical creatures such as unicorns and sea monsters are drawn in. But that's not all. Between America and Asia, a large island can be seen in the North Pacific. Several cities are marked on it.
So very interesting, as you can see. And again, a map stolen in 2017 there. It's a bit suspicious, isn't it, really? Why would you want the map? So, yeah, there's a landmass between Alaska and Russia. There's a landmass called Terra de Iesso on many maps, which translates as the land of Jesus. Or it did, before people figured out that people had figured this out. Yeah, but again, the kind of, not just the maps is kind of proof of this land maps, but the time zones don't work. So if we can get to, yeah, here's the time zone crack, right? So we'll skip ahead. How many minutes is it? No, I'll just keep playing it. And I won't skip ahead. But we'll get to that time zone crack in a minute.
The island is located off the Strait of Anian. This, in turn, leads to the North Pole, which is depicted with the 4 island groups and the magnetic mountain, as was customary at the time.
Yeah, I mean, at this point as well, whatever happened, there was no snow or ice was depicted in the north, possibly in the south as well. I mean, the planet was hotter, it would seem. There was no ice caps, maybe 500 years ago. According to all these maps, there was no ice. So, again, I don't know that this is what the maps are depicting. And they're quite detailed with cities, and you know what I mean. So we're just saying that all of these people were wrong, you know what I mean. But I don't know. But again, the kind of the big smoke and gun really is the time zone thing we're going to get to in a minute. So you've got the maps, but then you have the time zone issue as well. So we'll get to that. Hold on.
Let's take a closer look. We can see many cities with old world architecture and the inscription Japon Isola. This means Japan Island, and reflects today's mainstream explanation. But it could also have been another island that cartographers at the time simply thought was Japan, or a cataclysm occurred that caused the island to sink.
Yeah, there was definitely a cataclysm in fairly modern times, it would seem. Again, the artists of the 1700s drawing Rome is kind of proof of it in a way. I'll maybe make a video on that as well. Very interesting, to be honest. Some of the things that were drawn, absolutely amazing. Yeah, so there's a bit of confusion here, really. You know what I mean? And there is confusion whether this land exists. Again, why is it on the maps? Again, some maps aren't the same. But again, the big smoke and gun in a way is the time zone thing, which we'll get to in a minute. Play.
But we don't just have maps. Mainstream history today regards the Strait of Anian as semi-mythical. Nothing more than sailors' yarns, just like all the ancient and modern stories about a warm and paradisiacal North Pole. The truth often finds its way into fictional works. Do you remember the story Gulliver's Travels, written by the Freemason Jonathan Swift, and the clear allusions to the floating Jerusalem in it? In the story, the floating city is located above the island of Brobdingnag. And where is this fictional island located? That's right. Next to the Strait of Anian, west of the United States. You can even see New Albion. There are also interesting stories about journeys to this region. My personal favorite is that of the Spaniard Lorenzo Ferrer Maldonado. In 1609, he presented to the Spanish court a relation describing how he had crossed the Northwest Passage in 1588. He said he sailed through Davis Strait to 70 degrees north. Although it was February, the sea never froze. He then sailed 790 leagues southwest and west-southwest, and reached the Strait of Anian at 60 degrees north. At its mouth he found a large harbor where he met a ship with gold and pearls manned by Lutherans from the Baltic ports. In June he returned, finding temperatures north of the Arctic Circle warmer than those of Spain. The Spanish government initially rejected his revelations. From then on, the Spanish sailor's manuscript remained a state secret. It was not until 180 years later that it was found in the Spanish archives. In the meantime, Vitus Bering officially discovered the strait, which was named after him. The discovery of Maldonado's manuscript sparked lively debate, and in 1791, Alessandro Malaspina was commissioned to search for Maldonado's strait. He was unable to find it, and until recently, Maldonado was branded a liar and the manuscript was considered merely an attempt by the Spanish to claim discovery of the strait for themselves. However, current evidence suggests that Maldonado described quite accurately what is now known as the Bering Strait. So are his other discoveries, such as golden ships of monks and the warm climate, also true. Not only does the maritime border between the USA and Russia run through the middle of the Bering Strait, but the international date line also runs there. It is an imaginary line that represents the boundary between one calendar day and the next. It runs along the 180th meridian through the entire Pacific Ocean and through the opening of the Bering Strait.
Yeah, so the date line, again, and look at this ridiculousness here of this line. Instead of just going straight down, it bends and weaves all over. I mean, look at this bit down here. It's fucking ridiculous. So, yeah, the date line. So it's kind of like the time zones, you know what I mean? But it's actually when the day crosses over in the time zones. So I'll play a bit more and obviously I'll explain this crack here. But yeah, I mean, look at this line. It's not even a line.
Crossing the date line eastbound decreases the date by 1 day, while crossing the date line westbound increases the date. Strangely enough, the time zones do not match exactly at the Bering Strait, so between Alaska and Chukotka. They are not 24 hours apart like most places on the date line, but only 21 hours. So if you were to travel from Russia to Alaska at 12 noon on September 24th, it would be 3 p.m. on September 23rd after crossing the line. You would be traveling into the past, but 3 hours would have been lost. The mainstream dismisses these differences as political decisions that were mostly made for practical reasons. But why exactly here? Could there be more to it than that? Could there be an area the size of 3 time zones, so approximately 45 degrees of longitude? This would be a large landmass, almost the size of the United States, which would actually kind of fit with the land of Iesso seen on the old maps.
Yeah, so basically there's 3 hours missing on the date line. If you go from one side of the date line to the other, you don't go back an hour, you go back 3 hours. So they've deleted like 3 hours of the map in essence, and tried to fill it in by just making that bullshit up. So that's kind of the proof that there's a landmass there, that there's missing time. And it's quite big, as I said, near the size of America, which is what's kind of depicted on the old maps, the size of Terra de Iesso. So it very much seems like they've deleted a part of the map for us and on like Google Earth, and just completely took this section out. And because there's not a lot of landmass down south of here, it's mainly water. It doesn't really affect the time zone thing a lot. But as you can see on these time zones, I mean, it's fucking ridiculous, really. That where do we find it? Like, it's all over the shop. This time zone goes left, goes right, and then there's a lot of fucking crazy bit down the bottom here. If we can find it again, it's gone. No, it's gone, gone. Too long a video to pinpoint. But anyway, it's all over the shop. The date line. Sorry, if you go and look at the date line. So it kind of like there's 3 hours missing. The big landmass, again, the same size landmass that's depicted on these old maps. So there's a bit of something to it in a way, you know what I mean? I'll play a little bit more. Fuck me.
Point for all other meridians, also known as the Greenwich Meridian, runs through the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London. In 1884, then U.S. President Chester Arthur met with delegates from 25 other nations in Washington, D.C., for the International Meridian Conference. The goal was to determine a prime meridian in order to create a globally uniform system of longitude and time measurement. 2 papers by Sir Stanford Fleming, a Freemason of St. Andrew's Lodge No. 1 in York, had a decisive influence on this conference.
Yeah, always the Freemasons. Always the Freemasons. I mean, they changed the calendar. There's a good video. 1775 Bible proves we live a lie is the name of the video, and shows we're supposed to have 13 months and all this. And this was 1775. So, like the 1700s and the 1800s were very much a time spent covering up a lot of things, it would seem. Like all these cities that were emptied and knocked down, like the World Fair. Like, there was a lot going on back then, a lot going on, but it seems like a lot of it was covering things up. Yeah, so Freemason involvement as usual. That's a key sign you're being fucked over here in history. So that's kind of the crack. I'm going to leave it there. If you want to watch the rest of this video, chapter 20 is the name of the channel. You've got a few channels covering this. Again, there's the Land of Jesus on there, on this one. You've got many channels I've found, to be honest, kind of covering this crack, and there seems to be something in it, you know what I mean, with the time zones and the maps and even the old world buildings that we can't explain how they're built. I kind of think there's a lot in this whole Satan's Little Season thing, to be honest. So that's kind of the crack with the Land of Jesus, Terra de Iesso. Again, there's more to it if you want to learn the rest of it. I'm just kind of telling you. I mean, here's the date line. Look at this. Look at this.
Satan New Experience.
Would you believe it? A YouTube advert. That's the date line. It's not even a line. Again, if you look at the Greenwich Mean Time line that we've got, it's just a straight line, straight down. Because no one's kind of over in that part of the world, as you can see, it's mainly sea down here. It's the Pacific Ocean. It doesn't really affect that many people, so everyone just kind of cracks on, I think, and just ignores it, because it's their line's straight to, you know what I mean, where we are, the time works. So it's on the other side of the world for us, so no one's ever noticed this, but apparently, like, this is the date line. Look at it. It doesn't go straight down. It's all over the fucking shop. So I think he's mentioning the 3 hours here. We'll just play this bit. No, I've muted him.
Of ocean between New Zealand and Hawaii.
Yeah, and we'll go back. I think he was mentioning there. So this is what they kind of they've done here. Just like deleted a bit of the map and then put the map back together.
Ocean, spanning several time zones, simply not on our maps. If you look at a Gleason projection of the Earth and compare the distances and flight times between Sydney and Auckland, and between Auckland and Honolulu, you will notice that the flight time between Auckland and Honolulu is 5.5 hours longer. This is strange, despite the slightly longer distance, and could indicate a large unmapped area of ocean between New Zealand and Hawaii. And while we're at it, what better way is there to hide land and inconsistencies in time zones than with a convoluted, zigzagging dateline that was arbitrarily decided upon?
Yeah, again, it's kind of right, to be honest, isn't it? You know what I mean? Look at that. So I'll leave it there, really. There's the maps, there's the timeline, the date line all over the shop. The plain things don't kind of add up, and is the 3 hours missing on the date line because there's a massive landmass up there they don't want to tell us about. So why don't they want to tell us about it? But the evidence is there that there's kind of somewhere up there they don't want to tell us about. So I found it very interesting, to be honest, very interesting, and it gave a lot more gravity to this whole sort of Satan's little season thing as well, and the Millennium Reign having happened, because there's tales to and fro as well of this land. So very interesting. Again, if I find more sort of stuff on it, I'll bring it forth. But there's more to this video if you want to come and watch the rest of this video again. Brilliant channel, chapter 20. There's another one I've found as well. I'll probably put a video forth off the new channel I've found, if I can, maybe down here somewhere. No, I'm not passing it. Not passing it. Tired of make believe. There's another one. Chapter 20, as I've mentioned, is a good one. Understanding Conspiracies covered it as well. Quite a few channels. Not that I've not seeing the new one that I've come across, though, with some very good videos as well, which I'll give a mention in another video when I find something interesting. Maybe on the artists of the 1700s drawing Rome in ruins. Quite interesting. I'll probably make a video on that. So anyhow, sit where you want, do what you want, think what you want, believe what you want. Apparently that's the crack. But this is sort of the evidence. Maps depicting a land called Terra de Iesso, biglish land. We've got date lines all over the fucking shop. Planes not matching up for the timelines of flight times. So that's kind of the situation here. Make of it what you will. I'll leave it there. Peace.